Thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. I know we've sort of said that already off camera, but just I want to let the world know that I'm very grateful for you for joining me. First question, in a classic Cilla Black sort of style, what's your name and where'd you come from? I know you, of course, but it's for everyone watching or listening.
Right, Chuck. Well, I'm from...
Go on, G.
Hi, Simon. I'm G, and I'm from Ealing.
And I'm Amrit. We're sisters, and I'm also from Ealing as well.
And that's the main reason I've got you on, not because you're from Ealing, but because you're sisters.
Yeah.
So often there's so many different types of people come through the Asset Academy training from all walks of life, from all sorts of countries. I mean, I haven't yet, but it would be fun to count the different nationalities that we've got involved. But yeah, from different walks of life, different relationships. I mean, even friendships and close relationships are formed, as people go through the trainings. But yeah, so many families come through, and that's something I really want to, talk to you about how it works, how maybe sometimes it doesn't work so well, and just explore, your history, your journey through, as property investors. When you started, had you got any property experience before?
No, we didn't actually. I was actually saving to purchase my own first residential. And no, neither of us did we? No, nothing.
So what was it that inspired you then? Was it just a...
It was a
evening. Oh, there's that property seminar. Should we? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we've got a cup of tea.
It was exactly that. Actually, it was in the Metro, an advert, and I showed it to G, and I said, "G, we should go along to this. This could be really interesting." And I think I was in that headspace actually just before that. That was viewing a few for potential first homes,
Right.
and G popped along, so we came.
And to be honest, Simon, we've never looked back from that. So, of course, it was the first seminar. And then from there, we realised there was a bit more of a detailed one. I think it was a 3-day basic. And then from there, we were we knew we were new to the sector of property. And then when we knew there was an opportunity to learn, we grasped it with both hands, didn't we? So It was like, yeah, this is definitely an avenue that we wish to go down.
So it was a sort of because you were looking for your own place, Amrit. There was an interest there, but
Yes.
You hadn't considered being investors. It was more from a buying your own place sort of point of view.
Definitely.
Where was it?
Yeah, I think I was actually looking in Kent, because obviously we've grown up in London, city girls. Do love a bit of the countryside as well. So I was trying to find that happy medium. So I remember visiting Rochester for the first time ever. And I just had, I love exploring. So I remember saying, gee, this is such a lovely little village. So yeah.
And then I reminded her I won't be 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So I was like, hello.
Exactly. You have to weigh those up. Yeah.
And I've heard the train service from Rochester can sometimes be a bit into London. So yeah. And that very first seminar, which was it a Central London hotel?
It
or was.
It
a Heathrow one?
No, I believe
we used to
it was
do them at Heathrow and the Bloomsbury. The good old Bloomsbury.
So it was Bloomsbury. It was a 3-day basic course there. Yeah.
And the free seminar, was that at the Bloomsbury as well?
That was somewhere else. And actually, I can't remember. It was definitely in London. I can't remember the exact location.
I'd be making it up if I said Kensington.
Say that again, sorry?
Was I there?
No.
Because I used to be on that. That was one role I had within Asset Academy in the old days, BC, before COVID. I used to spend an awful lot of time at the back of the room at previews, and as they were then called, helping people to take the plunge, if you like. So you did that free seminar. You did the 3-day basic. So what was kind of the initial intention of you decided, let's go and learn a bit more. What was the initial intention? Was it to help you buy your own property, or become big time property investors, or was it somewhere in between?
I would say it was somewhere in between. So I think me and Amrit definitely knew as beginners we were going to go with small risk at the beginning. So we were going to start off small. We've always had passions for other projects, other things that we love doing. So we thought it was definitely our intentions where it was a vehicle to give us more freedom of time. So that is where we kind of started off with the kind of, I think the biggest thing that the 3-day basic gave us was thinking outside the box. So from Amrit thinking she was ready to purchase her own personal home and to become a homeowner, to then say, hang on a minute, I'm doing a whole U-turn on this. And now actually we're going to start investing and start seeing this kind of, the compound effect of what property investment can bring a return. So that it totally changed our mindset on and I think it was a great thing because we were open to it. So you have to be open to hearing and learning new things. And I think we were at that right point in our time of our life, which then just has springboarded onto other things.
Definitely. And curious as well. I think the first seminar, obviously we didn't really know too much about what to expect. And then the 3-day basic, it was like mind-blowing and so many different strategies. So I guess, the curiosity of let's go in deeper.
Well, there's two things there that I'm picking up on. It is a familiar story. So many people do come with that they're at the stage where they want to buy their first home, and then come along and their eyes are opened, and all of a sudden they become more open-minded to the possibilities of owning property and the curiosity. That was always one of the first questions I said to people, and even when I'm introducing, the times when now, not so much these days, but when I used to be there at the free seminar to introduce the speaker, I'd say, you're curious, excited, bit of both, nervous. Here we go then, So I think if there's anything at that early stage, if the curiosity can be sparked, I think with anything though, you can very quickly expand your knowledge and interest and excitement over something, and I think that's what one of the jobs of those speakers, those presenters, the likes of Dr. Rowe, for example, gets people excited and opens their mind. So, it's a great process to watch as well. I mean, I've watched so many people come through the trainings and see how they, are getting excited about things that they just didn't know about to start with. Yeah, there's that old phrase, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So what those initial goals, then talk me through sort of, those early days, when you were sat together, when you weren't at the trainings and making your plans. What were those early goals? What did they look like?
I think it was just to kickstart into buy-to-lets. So we decided on our strategy and we said, right, let's get a couple of buy-to-lets under our belt. And then it's almost like the pyramid that you explained, and then you slowly start climbing the ladder. So those were our initial goals. It was let's get a couple, let's get used to the processes involved of buying, because that's a new concept altogether. And then to buy as an investor, that's another new concept altogether. So it's kind of like speed, accelerate learning at the same time. And I think that was enough for us at that early stage, just to know that we were putting into practice what we were learning.
Yeah.
And what were you doing before? What were your careers like before?
So I was a project manager in a corporation, so I had full swing infrastructure projects going. Absolutely loved being a project manager, that was my career, working on construction and aviation projects.
So you had relevant skills then, project management. Yeah. I mean, you've obviously just gone plop those into your property business.
That's why I was like, gee, you're coming with me to this. And we will probably end up talking about this a bit more, like how we kind of work together. And I had been...
burlesque dancer, no?
Yeah, exactly. Got the red lipstick. I actually had just quite fresh come back from travelling. I'd travelled for about 22 months, so just under 2 years. So I think that's when I came back and I was like reassessing my life, like, oh, well, should I buy my own house now? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I would have been on another plane, like, without a doubt, really. But I came back.
Hang on, you came back from travelling, thought, oh, I'll buy a house. What with? You must have been skint. I mean, anyone who's been travelling that amount of time, unless they've got some sort of, laptop business going or.
No, I started saving. I moved back with my parents and I started saving again. So a little bit of time had passed
Right.
when I came back from my trip, saved a bit. So, hadn't saved loads.
So you weren't sort of fresh off the plane with the sort of the
No.
hair ups and the tie pant, Thailand trousers that,
And I wasn't, and I was literally, I'd taken a break from work. I've been working as a graphic designer for many, many, many years. And I'd given that a break and just traveled like purely for enjoyment, a little bit of work here and there, but absolutely loved it. And then just came back and actually got back into something very similar to what I was doing before. So sort of employee benefits I was like a freelance graphic designer. Started my own business then as well, actually, because I'm just trying to think back. So I'd actually started my own business as a designer, and then I was just freelancing.
So was there an intention then for you both to have the property as a side hustle, for want of a better word, or did you have, in those early stages, plans to replace what you're doing? Because I mean, Gia, you said you love being a project manager, and any creative, just enjoys, that it's what they love doing. I mean, I'm a creative mind, so whatever I can do that's got some creative element, I'll dive in with gusto. So was the plan to give up your work or were you going to have, this as a future sort of financial plan for security in the future?
So I think it was a bit of both. So I think it was something we took with, as we progressed, we definitely knew that we wanted to utilize our skill sets, but probably for our own benefit without that sounding selfish. So how could we grow our property business? How could we grow our other work streams that we were currently working on at that point in time? So the intention was always to not remain as an employee, because I think it definitely, from the training we received, it sparked off, create more creativity, to be honest, Simon. It encouraged us to go, so me loving project management, I now have my own sourcing company, which also offers project management because I love it so much.
And what's the name of that company?
So that's called Otterly Solutions.
Okay.
Yep. So that's my sourcing company. And along with that, and then Amrit sparked off different things for Amrit.
For me, go on, Simon.
I was just going to say, I definitely want to talk about other things that you're doing, because I'm, having known you for a while now, I know you've got all sorts of different stuff going on. So go on, what were you going to say there, Amrit?
I was just going to say, with the courses, what's been, I'd say, life-changing actually has been all the personal development that we've gone on a whole new journey with that. I didn't read any personal development books before. I'd say I was probably, maybe a little bit spiritual, but all the books that were recommended, completely addicted to Audible now. I know I'm not like promoting them, but like I've always loved reading, but it was never nonfiction. And that has just, now I can't remember the last time I actually read a fiction book, but both of us, it's just become another passion, actually, the growth and development for both of us. And also, and we spoke about it earlier, but just the friendship, not even just, but more importantly, the friendships. For me, I'd say that time and time again, just the connections, the networking, the friendships that have come from all of this. So that's just been.
And I often think that one of the surprising elements of anybody who gets involved in our training, or even anybody else's property training, and to be fair, there are some other decent companies out there who have similar kind of ideals, but the personal development stuff and the friendships and the relationships, that I think that for a lot of people comes as a surprise. Because I put this to somebody the other day. I said, so, sort of playing devil's advocate, personal development, what's that got to do with buying properties? You're just buying a house, aren't you, and renting it out. Why is personal development so important? But it is, because, you've got to have this, I think of there's all sorts of things that you have to put together in your mind, the motivation, the timing, we can talk about this. This is a whole different podcast, which
it really is. The challenges of
it does come as a surprise. I mean, did it take you by surprise?
I think we were more grateful. I think the way the training was kind of like the way the training was given, the way the modules that we selected were well structured. So they're constantly talking about your mindset in every single topic that you're learning. So you're not forgetting the importance of it. And I think it's just constantly building that resilience that you then start, when you need that resilience, when you need that particular positive mindset, when things may not be going according to your plan, you realize, and then you have an moment. You say, this is what this was all about. Yeah. This is why the teachers told us to start reading these books. It all starts making sense because,
it's like a toolkit.
It gives you Sorry, Amit, what you saying?
Toolkit. It's almost as if we've been given a toolkit. I was going to say
similar coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Because I think people. It's a huge generalization, I think, but often there aren't. An individual doesn't have coping mechanisms. They just sort of go with and kind of struggle on through. And it sounds a bit judgmental, but I'm trying not to be. But
well, I was going to say, sorry, Simon. Lindsay and Mark's creative finance course really sparked so much because there was such an amazing balance of mindset and property learning and creative ways of finding deals. But I remember something like a massive light bulb like switched in me when Lindsay was just sharing all his books and diaries and mind maps and goals. And I was like, I love this. I absolutely love this. And when he spoke about the Miracle Morning, and from that day, actually, I've been doing it religiously, like for 3 years straight, as in I can't start my day without it now. And I love it. And it's just been growing and growing.
So we say, see you later. See you in 3 hours.
But I love it. So this is something that I would not have expected from a property course. It's quite unexpected, actually.
So have you dived in completely, 5 o'clock in the morning and 5 a.m. starts and with the Miracle Morning and...
like I wouldn't say every day, but I've always been an early riser.
Yeah.
Always. I think we both have, actually. We've both. So, most of the time it is a pretty early start. But and I'm just like learning to be a bit kinder as well. Like just be kind to yourself. Like it doesn't have to be like you have to do this now and now. But once you've built that habit and those good habits, it's perfect. But
I understand what you're saying about being kinder to yourself, thinking that I have to do it now, because if it becomes a pain, then you're not going to do it. And exactly. I do that to myself all the time if I'm sort of trying to build some kind of rhythm or habit. And I think I've got to do this. And this morning I thought, do you know what? I'm not going to do me physio. I've got a bad knee at the moment. I'm going to wait until I've spoken to you guys. I just didn't feel like it. And I thought, well, that's okay. As long as I get it done, it's all right. I've just rejigged my order of stuff for today. I fancied a bit of a relaxing time watching the news. Anyway, that was fun. But anyway, moving on. Let's think about you two. That's what you're here for. So in those early days, did you sort of just happen upon a working style, or have you actually... let's think about how siblings, how sisters, brother and sister, how they work together. Because of course, I've got a younger brother, and he's 6.5 years younger than me. We've done bits of work together. He's a filmmaker, and we've done a few things together, and we just sort of happened upon it. We didn't create a business together or anything like that. But how did you guys set about structuring your business to start with?
So I think once we made the decision to commit, and we were bought in after the training, I think we fully committed, didn't we? We were like, right, we know that we are going to put X amount time in the diary. So it was just the initial basics, making sure we did the viewings, make sure we put the offers forward, and we did that together. It was about being a team. And as you may know, my little daughter came along as well. So she was part of the team, and she quite reminds me she's a director as well. So so little director came as well. So I think as a sibling, I think it's about respecting that you are fully committed, and just and I think that's one thing that me and Amrit have always been. We've always respected each other. So we've respected that we've made a commitment to a business. We've respected that we've got different avenues of work going on as well. And I think we work really well together. And yeah.
And did you sort of then sort of divvy up key aspects of the work? Because obviously you've got different strengths, and did you sort of agree on, right, Amrit, you're going to take care of this, and this, and G, you decided, right, I'm going to do this, or was there a crossover at any point? How did that work out?
I think right at the beginning we were doing a lot of it together. Mm-hmm. We probably weren't utilising our time efficiently, but because it was something new, we enjoyed doing it together, and with little Ivor as well. Okay. So we make it a bit of an adventure. We're investing in South Wales, so we really love going there as well as looking for properties. But as time's gone on, definitely we've realised, and during our mentorship as well, our strengths and weaknesses. And Angus was our mentor, absolutely amazing, but actually helped us reverse our roles too, so that we could work on our weaknesses, which was fantastic. But I think where our biggest insights have been through Corona, the lockdown basically, and realised that there are so many tasks G loves to do that I hate doing, and vice versa. And we've realised that we're actually such a great team, and now we're trying to play more to our strengths, to not and divvy up tasks actually. So
I think when we talk about time management, and juggling the other work streams that are just as important to us, we realise how can we leverage our time even within our personal business relationship, and that's just by being honest. So be honest with each other. Gee, I prefer doing this, fantastic, because I hate doing that. And then I don't mind a bit of conflict resolution, fantastic, I'll go and deal with that. So I think we realise, and trusting each other to make those decisions on behalf of each other, biggest eye-opener. Let's just crack on. We don't need to have a call every so often. Gee, this is your remit. Amrit, this is your remit. But one thing we do weekly meetings. It's important for us to have our heads, know where we're going for that week, and then just trust each other to crack on with it.
This next question is a funny one, because knowing you as I do, you see you've always appeared to be very close and work together. But conflict resolution, I mean, has there been conflict resolution between the pair of you at any point, and how have you overcome that?
So I wouldn't say there's been any conflict in regards to business matters. I think in regards to maybe one day I could have been having a tougher day, so then I would need to lean on Amrit to maybe play a different role, which maybe it might have been part of my remit. So I think that's where we're quite grateful for each other, where we can be honest, say, you know what, I'm having a tough day today. I might not be able to do what I was setting out to do. And then it might be Amrit's turn in a couple of weeks. So, being open to that. Sometimes you might have to wear two hats. And I think that's where being open and honest about that, and then it's okay. And then all Amrit cares about is G okay? Is G okay? Is she having a good day? And likewise, if Amrit wasn't having, I think one thing would love to share, that we all sometimes, don't want to glorify what's involved in being a property investor. You do have tough days. You do have things where things totally fall off track. And then you've got to recenter, and you've got to crack on again with a new plan. And sometimes it could be totally personal. So you've got to respect and give time to that as well, that something personal may be going on, that you have a good team around you, and that you park what may need to be parked for a day or two, and then you can crack on again. So I think in regards to business, we're very lucky that we've been aligned. We've been aligned on our strategies. We've been aligned on our growth. We've been aligned on our financial decisions. And I think that actually shows the benefit of investing with a sibling or a family member, because you have the same values from the family, hopefully from the offset. but we do.
Yeah. And it's also good, and I'm sure we'll touch on it, but beyond property and beyond our bigger vision just for life and what the projects we want to work on. Yeah, we've just realised that we are so aligned, and I think that just helps.
Well, Amrit, I mean, I was going to say, has it, working together so closely like this, I mean, you're close sisters anyway, but has it changed your relationship as sisters?
we have definitely become so much closer. I think on social media, people think, like we are really close. And we've got a brother as well, by the way, which we love.
Shout out.
Yeah, we love our brother, Dee.
Not forget the brother, yeah.
No, we love him to bits. But I'd say like years ago growing up, we probably weren't as close actually. University had more of a social sort of outlook on life. And I guess this is what property's done. It's kind of made us even more focused on what we're driving for. I think we probably both kind of lived our lives initially just kind of every day, just doing our own thing. But yeah, it's definitely brought us so much closer together. Yeah.
Are there any, there's lots of pros, obviously, I can see it. Are there any cons? There's pros and there's cons and everything. Yeah. What are the cons? Is there anything that you've sort of gone, I don't know, that perhaps you've had to tweak and play around with? I mean, you've touched on that a bit, Gia, already. I'm
wondering if Amrit's going to say the same thing that I'm going to say. So this
after
is
three then.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know if it's just a word, but go on. What are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say the con or the improvement area would be not knowing when to stop to talk business. So that would have been mine. So me and Amrit have got a new thing that we work on, and we just use the one word called skip. So it could be so easy to bring business into eating dinner at our parents, or little Ivor's trying to get mummy's attention, but we're still talking about business. So that, I would say, we've kind of put something in where it's like skip, G. You've got a meeting on Saturday of business, skip it, leave it till then or something. So knowing when to switch off, I think that is one that I would have said. Oh yeah,
and that probably would have been the first to come to mind, but I didn't think of that one actually.
What did you think?
No, I was just thinking sometimes, I don't know if this is a con really, but maybe we can be a bit too soft on each other as well. Like, sometimes we know we could probably, I don't know,
She's going, no, you're not soft on me.
No, but I think as sisters, we probably don't want to upset the balance, and we can be maybe a bit forgiving with each other. I don't know. Do you think? I think
it goes back to you saying being kind. So if you're being kind to yourself, you also need to be kind to your business partner. Yeah. I think the word is understanding. I think we may be too understanding of each other's. But I also think that's also what then gives us the fire to then go forward again. So I think it's important.
Reflecting.
Yeah, it's important to have that understanding of each other.
Yeah, I would say that's a positive thing actually, because it doesn't bring any negativity and to a scenario. If you are kind of forgiving and understanding of one another, I would say it's a sort of an inbuilt conflict resolution. It sort of stops any kind of butting of heads. I mean, sibling rivalry is you could. Here's another podcast. Still, sibling rivalry and the psychology of where it comes from. Can be very deep rooted, and but if you're kind and gentle with one another or understanding with one another, it can move things along perhaps a lot easier.
No, you're right. So I didn't answer that question correctly.
No, but I want to.
It was the question I actually wrote down is: are there pros and cons? So, And
I think that approach, like you're saying, it's a softer conflict resolution type approach. Being kind to one another. And one thing I've realised, and this is personally from my own learning of myself, that you're only going to know that you need to do more by yourself. And that might just be my personality. Some people don't like to be told. So maybe that's where Amrit thinks she's being softer, where she knows that actually I need to figure it out myself in order for it to then be impactful. So I think our approach is correct, because when we do have meetings, we're like, oh, we could have done a bit more then. We shouldn't have maybe stopped then. So I think that conversation becomes a better conversation when we are having our meetings and catching up, that it's always better to bring it on the table yourself.
And I love the skip word. I think that's brilliant. Does that help you focus more intently when you actually do have the meetings at the appropriate time?
Definitely.
Yes. So I think what we do a lot now is literally, you need to say something, but we also need to practice self-control of, not always being so excited about business, because as you know, I'm a mum as well. So I need to also be a present mother as well. So we'd write the notes down in our phone. We'll have a running notes section so that you don't forget what you need to say, but you can most definitely control what you need to say at the right time, at the right place. And Skip's worked beautifully because even if I said, oh, Amrit, make sure I don't talk about this, and then of course I'm going to start talking about it.
We have meetings in the car as well now. So when we are driving to Wales, and if little one's at school, we're like, let's just use this time, this 2.5 hours just to like chat and have our meetings.
Perfect time. And for solo investors, their car journeys are their self-development time. And, for listening to the Audible, and I was going to say cassettes, but that's because my last car only had a cassette deck, so that's how old it was.
Oh my God, I like really respect the solo investors. I'm like, wow, like so much.
Just coming back to my car, one of the agents I knew really well in my area, he used to laugh at me because my lock had broken, and I couldn't unlock it from the outside. It didn't even have central locking, for goodness sake. So I used to have to climb in through the inside, because I never left my car unlocked in some of the places where I invest in Scunthorpe. Not lock. Sorry, Scunthorpe. I didn't mean that. I'm not implying that there's. Well, that's
Simon, I know we've spoken about this before on a networking evening, but we're both born in Scunthorpe.
Were you?
Yeah, we've spoken about this.
Yeah, we're both born in Scunthorpe but raised in London.
Well, I was born, I told you I was born in Grimsby and grew up in Scunthorpe. I was only in London. I was only 19 when I moved here. 18 or 19, I can't remember now. Long time ago. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't.
And we're not offended.
Well, there's the other connection, isn't there? I mean,
exactly,
you've met half my family. I mean,
yes.
And we do have family in Grimsby.
But I have Simon's family. Yeah, crazy.
Anyway, we digress, which is a great thing. Yeah. So what was it? Where were we? Skip, focus. Yeah, I was talking about my car, wasn't I? How have your strategies for investing evolved then? Let's, you started off with simple buy-to-lets. Have you got other strategies on the go now?
So at this moment, no. So let's talk about the beautiful pandemic and what it kind of meant for investors.
Yeah.
So it totally kind of pushed investors who are looking for a particular return on investment. So, although we're very much looking at more creative ways of finding deals, and, of course, that's what we're taught on our training. And of course, then you start bringing your own learnings into that creativity of finding deals as well. But with the inflation, especially in South Wales, being hit the most, with prices raising from 15 to 20k plus on things that were never seen before. Again, so alignment with mine and Amrit's decision was, until the right deal comes up, which meets our requirements, we would not be investing for sake of investing. So we started off with buy-to-lets. We would never say no to a buy-to-let, but we have explored other strategies, which I would say are above the pyramid. And we also, put an offer forward recently as well, because the deal felt right. And that would be a potential flat conversion type project. So I'd say we're probably sat on exploring. So our growth now is, we're looking now, exploring where we feel that the market's become a bit more sustained. So we're looking more for possibly flat conversions at this moment in time.
Because we had explored HMOs, didn't we? We did quite a bit of research into it and explored different areas.
Yeah.
But I think...
But at the moment, HMOs, you've sort of parked and...
We've parked.
I think the important thing there, I mean, one of the last questions I'll come back to is, what's your biggest learning? But a big learning there is that you're doing deals that suit you and not doing, and my takeaway from this is not doing a deal just for the sake of it because you haven't done one for ages. You're not getting that. I think it can be all too easy. And definitely in the early stages, just to go get panicky, I haven't done a deal, I've got to do a deal. And then it ends up being a bad one. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Totally makes sense?
Definitely.
So there is pressure, and as being a sourcer and guiding new investors or existing investors, I have to have these conversations regularly with them. You've shared your client requirements with me; they don't match, so I cannot put anything before you because I am your first point of due diligence. So I've done the due diligence. I know that builder costs have risen. I know that the property prices have risen. Put those two together, and it becomes a no deal. And it's a bit of a you've just got to explain that to the new people into property investing. It's not that I think the way you should look at education, it's an investment. You never know when that education is going to become useful for you, and you've also got to respect that with the property market is never a predictable market either. So we've just got to ride it out at the moment, and that's what we're all doing at the moment. We're just waiting for it to sustain, and then after sustaining, then we can start seeing what new pattern merges happen in the property sector, and it is about being patient, and this is where the mindset comes in handy. Having that good mindset of resilience, having not saying don't do viewings, but you've also got the opportunity of doing online viewings as well to kind of get a feel for the market of is this what you're really looking for. But as you said, Simon, the most important thing is you must understand your goal and where you're trying to go. You must understand your minimum cash flow. You must understand how much you're prepared to leave in a property deal before you override all those and then realize that at refinance stage that actually this was never really a deal. So you've got to stay true to what you believe in order to progress, I think.
I mean, you talked about plans and goals there. I mean, some of the similar things Mark was saying, I did the first podcast that we released. I was talking to Mark Dalton about goal planning, and he touched on very similar things. And I even asked him, how do you see the market progressing in the next year, 18 months? And he said, actually, it's too short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think we did sort of touch on, it's what's important to you and how it fits in with your goals. Don't necessarily need to worry about how, what's going on.
But it is so easy.
Say again?
I was going to say it's so easy to compare because of with social media, so many of us do compare. So
it's an awful trait. It's an awful part of human nature, isn't it? To compare and judge yourself against somebody else and vice versa. So your first deal then, what did that look like? Was it a success?
Yes, I'm just trying to think because we were quite lucky. We got a couple sort of back to back, didn't we?
Did. We got.
We'd viewed quite a few properties on our mentorship with Angus, put lots and lots of offers in, and he very kindly reminded us to follow up on our offers, and that was pretty much that was our first deal because there were two very close together.
Two more important learnings there: lots of offers and follow up.
Definitely. Yes. Following up is so important. And I know we're taught that on the course, but actually, I think Angus had been around some of the same properties a few weeks later. He's like, girls, have you followed up your offers? So we're like, we better get on the phone and do that. And thanks to him, actually. So that's how we secured our first one. And actually, it was a very sorry sight. It was a landlord who had about 100 properties that were being repossessed. And that sounds a bit funny, doesn't it? Like repossessed. But and this was actually it was a family home, but you could see that it was used for like drug activity, and it was in a really bad state.
It turned into a drug den.
Yeah, it was a drug den. Yeah,
it turned into a drug den.
So we visited a lot just to make sure that this project went really smoothly. So it was really good.
And through the kind of, as you're always told, talk to everybody, tell them what you're doing. Through that, we actually managed to secure another project on that street. Just by being present, just by, speaking with the neighbours, because that, as you probably know, me and Amrit are very much about community. So whenever we went into property, we were like, how can we help communities at the same time? So with that, people knew that those were our values. So they when the neighbour's house came on sale, she told, so it became a direct to vendor deal initially, And then we realized that it didn't work for the vendor. So as the investor, the types of investors we are, we said we would totally respect our offers there, but we respect that you're after more because it's a family home being sold. We totally supported them to put it onto the market. They put it on the market, and we managed to then make an offer through the agency because we felt that there was something there. It was a deal. And then it just did a whole 360. So it's almost like speak to the vendor. It went to the market. It still ended up being our property. To then refurb. And
we actually let it go, didn't we? We were like, it's fine.
Let it go. Yeah,
we were just like, it's fine. It'll go to the right person. And when after the survey, a few things had come up, so we did manage to renegotiate as well. So that was something new for us, like renegotiating.
And that's really important because for the risk of a survey, so of course you're investing in a property that you don't know if you're going to go through to completion, but that investment of a survey is so valuable. You just can't, and because you can really understand, like Amrit was saying, are there renegotiation points in here? And the answer to that deal was yes, there was.
Something I was picking up on there was that your how can I put it, the good heart that you have in your investing and your properties, it was coming across. And I would like people or organizations that target landlords or label landlords as being horrible individuals. And there's two organizations I've got in mind that I talk about quite a lot on my news feed on Instagram. They make us all out to be horrible individuals who don't care. And there was a piece on the news today about social housing, and there was some awful videos that I forget his name, this young lad from London who's been videoing, and a truly shocking house, that a housing association, which you assume would be providing quality homes. But I think more and more it's becoming the individual landlords that set up their own businesses that have the much more that come from a stronger in place of integrity and have a much more moral kind of attitude to property, and they see their tenants as people and not just as commodities. Would you agree with some of that? I hope so, because it was a bit long and rambling. But
no, definitely. And social housing was an area we really wanted to explore as well. And it's probably something we will pick up. We're just still looking for a next deal at the moment, but totally agree with you. Tenants, we want them to make these houses into their homes, and we have a bit of a personal touch with our tenants as well, like send them Christmas cards.
I think that's what is often forgotten, and I get really annoyed with tradesmen who say, oh, it's only a rental. No, it's going to be a home. It's somebody's home, and anybody who says, oh, it's only a rental, or thinks as a tenant as just a tenant, they're not just a tenant. They're people who need a home, and people do make it their homes. All right, you have some tenants, and there's plenty of them out there who treat the place like it's it is just a pigsty, and I've been on the receiving end a couple of times myself, with tenants who've trashed the place and just but it is going to be a home, and I know one of, I think it's it sounds a bit funny, ordinary homes for ordinary people, but I think ordinary quality homes for ordinary quality homes for people is more apt.
And that's where I want to say thank you for the training, because the training is what shares to us the standard. The standard. So when we're looking at examples of other properties that were done to a certain standard, that then is a ripple effect on all the new landlords that end up having the education, that we then realize, right, rewire the house, make sure the carpets are brand new. We've already got this instilled in us that, of course, that's what we are going to almost imitate back out there. And I think the ones that have taken the efforts and time to educate themselves as landlords, and even the ones that come as returning landlords, I've had conversations with them that then decided to raise their standards of their properties because they've seen what benefits of that. You end up attracting a more better suited tenant that may be more respectful. So, and every landlord wants a tenant that respects their property, and we've got to show that respect initially, and it is just a risk at the end of the day. You don't know who's going to end up being there fully because you don't know their lifestyle. So yeah,
I did worry when one tenant turned up with their sofa on the back of an open pickup truck. I just thought, oh, okay. Interesting. They turned out all right, though. They were fine. So property's one thing. What has being involved in this property education process that you're still part of in many ways, as well as investing, has it opened up other avenues of business? Have you diversified into other things? We've touched on a few of them.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it sparked a completely new passion. I mentioned earlier that, I've traveled quite a lot, and it's just made me reflect that I absolutely love people, cultures, food, just meeting people. And I guess the property networking has also carried that on. I have trained as a coach, and I did it with the Jay Shetty certification. So, in June last year, and I absolutely love it. So I'm actually growing my life coaching business. I'm a realization and fulfillment coach, and absolutely loving it. Had the privilege to sponsor an event early this year, and just sort of share what I'd love to do, and really just love to see people flourish and just live their best life. And again, this has all had a ripple effect on all the personal development that we've learned and gone through. So yeah, I just absolutely love it. And I think it aligns with our community projects that we do. We run a monthly workshop, Blossom, which we're going to restart again. And we love it. We just help our guests. We deliver like tools to empower them and just touch on some topics. So yeah, it's just beautiful.
So the whole personal development thing has really run alongside the investment career and has helped. Well, I guess they complement one another.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
you talked about your sourcing business.
Yep.
What else is going on?
Sourcing.
In your busy life of being a mum, a property investor, sourcing.
I published a book on Amazon.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I'm an ambassador for a charity of domestic violence. But it was prior to that I released my poetry book to raise awareness on domestic violence and mental abuse. And I get invited to many platforms to be a guest speaker to share positivity after being an experience of domestic violence. Where can you then go with your life? And I have to say, Simon, it's very exciting where you can go, because I'm someone that has experienced it, and now I am thinking ahead. And I've been talking to Amrit about my second book, which isn't about poetry, which isn't about domestic violence. It's about giving a different offering, which I'm excited to start working on that this year as well. So that would be exciting.
Amazing. And what do you think, would either of those things have happened? I mean, were they sort of bubbling around in your brain, let's say 3-4 years ago? Was it something that perhaps you had there, or is it, or have they sort of arisen as a result of having your mind opened by a property training course?
Yeah. So I think the execution of most of our projects have happened because of the mindset and being open to the personal development and everything. You can't beat someone speaking in your ears, telling you to get up and crack on. You just can't beat that. And that it's those actions, it's that drive that has come through our wider education, which isn't just about property. That's what I would say.
And I remember this one activity. I remember it was on one of the courses, and you're given a sheet of A4 with lots of squares, and you're basically marking how old you are on this. For me, again, these sort of exercises, they just hit home and just made me reflect, like, okay, I love my life. I've always felt very content and grateful, but actually I'm at this age now, we don't know how long we've got, but let's have a plan going forward rather than just sort of coasting through life. And I think this is where doing the courses together, it's just reignited. And like you said, things have started to arise because of the courses, to be honest, giving us tools, setting smart goals, all of these techniques that we may have not been aware of or never heard of before. So.
And that's an interesting thing that Amrit said. So actually experiencing the courses at the same time was really important. And I think that's where our closeness became together, because one thing me and Amrit also realized, we might make different notes if we were on a course as well. Something might be talking to me and something different's talking to Amrit. So when we talk about, reviewing what we went through or what we experienced, we actually can bring more to the table because we're two individuals who are together in a business. So, I think it would have been different had Amrit or I experienced the education separately.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think to then bring someone on board.
And were you closely aligned with? I mean, it sounds like fortunately you were closely aligned with the want to get into property back then. I mean, let's say if it had come at a different stage, would either? I think what I'm driving at is, would you have gone ahead on your own if the other didn't want to, or if Amrit was still traveling somewhere? Gee, if you'd come across the property training, would you have gone ahead on your own?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Simon.
I think doing it together has definitely been the longevity of it, of riding out the ups and the downs of it. So I would say probably yes, I would have done it by myself, but not having someone to bounce off and not having someone to keep me accountable, that would be questionable whether I would have continued without a business partner. So I think, not saying people can't do it by themselves, but I think at the end of the day, when you do have several work streams going on, you need an accountability partner to remind you what your vision is of each different business.
I mean, Amrit, you said earlier, hats off to solo investors. But even though they are solo, they're not totally on their own. Because you've said something there, accountability. Any of those who are successful, and there's one person in mind I've got in mind at the moment who I want to get on a podcast because he does do it on his own. He's still got his coach, his mentor. He's still got a network. He's still got people.
Yes.
So although they appear to be on their own, they're not.
You're right. Yeah.
And it's something a lot of people, especially those that come through on their own, they've got to get over the fact that this isn't a solo sport. And, that's something I always used to say, and I've said it countless times at all different stages, this isn't a solo sport. There's a load of support there if you want it.
And you're so right. Now looking, G and I sort of reflect on this, and our closest friends now are all from Asset Academy. Like, your circles just change. And and you're right. You aren't alone. Even if you are investing, there's always people to bounce off or ask for support, coaches, mentors, networking events. Yeah.
Was one of you more nervous than the other in the beginning?
I think we were both interested, weren't we? We were both equally interested in what does this entail. I think so. No, I would say we were both keen.
We were keen, but we probably were a bit nervous, a little bit. We hadn't put offers out there before or viewed properties and saying that we're investors. So there was a bit of just being outside of your comfort zone, the unknown. But actually, if you reframe that and use it as it's actually exciting and we're going on adventures and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Has that been the attitude throughout? I mean, certainly on the 3-day training when you're presented with, an expensive further training, was there a bit of a, gulp moment? Did you have to sort of look at one another and even was there what was the discussion like? Was one of you pulling a bit more than the other? Were you just feeling out, or did you look for permission from each other?
It was. It's like, we'll forget that house with the deposit on. No, it was a bit nerve-wracking, to be honest, and the heart was racing. But we both looked at each other and we knew that we wanted more, more for our family, for our mum, for all of us. To be even stronger as a family, and we were like, let's just go for it. Yes, we might be taking a risk, but again, it's up to each individual. All the training's there, all the content. It's how you apply it, and we just.
And also, I just want to say that the risk is at different levels because, of course, it depends on what package you decide to enroll on as well. So if you weren't comfortable with a certain amount of package, you can say, I only want to do this. So I think we looked at each other, we reasoned, and then you do have such a short space of time to reason with one another before you make this decision. But we knew we were in.
Were you able to sort of draw on one another's support, even if you were a little bit unsure?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did
100%.
I'd love to be able to take you back in time and listen to that conversation again and just see how you were.
I think I remember it, and I don't really remember that much. But I remember the crew were amazing. The crew were lovely. We had gone a bit back and forth. I knew the money was like in a different savings account, so it was a bit like, oh, do we do this? Do we not? But we don't. There are no regrets.
No, not at
it was
all.
the best decision we made. So.
And just thinking personally, you clearly do carry that kind of support structure between you that you have throughout the whole process of where you are now with your business. And made me remember another quick question. So there's still this support that you've developed as business people.
Yeah, I think that's the right term. The support's there for every single different business or project that we might
Between
be
you two, I mean.
Yeah. So the Blossom workshops is something that we've got closeness to, the vision of giving back to communities. So that's definitely one that we're definitely, every project there's a closeness. And I think it's just been a positive effect of actually getting into business with each other.
Definitely. And we actually are, again, this has all grown. I think the way setting boundaries between each other, but also that honesty. If there's something that I want to concentrate on a little bit more, we just tell each other. And actually, we're like cheerleaders for one another. We're like, yeah, go on, G, like, your book and go put your poems out there. And G supports me with my coaching. Like G was there at the event as well. Like my biggest supporter, and it's amazing. And I just wish for this to always continue like this. So yeah, it will.
So for any siblings watching them, what would be a key lesson that they should take away from this? What would be the biggest tip that you'd give them?
Honesty. Be honest with each other. Be upfront with each other, and have those healthy boundaries and roles and responsibilities defined from the beginning. It sounds so cliche to say get all the setup and the planning, but as a project manager, I have to tell you that planning saves me so much time when you're just staring at each other and neither of you would take the responsibility or the ownership of a task. So have that all sorted at the beginning, and then have constant meetings with each other and treat them as meetings. Don't treat them as, you've got to wear different hats to make this a success. You've got to know when your sibling's your sibling and it's fun time, and you've got to know when it's business decisions and
when it's time to skip.
Yeah,
skip, exactly.
Know when it's time to skip, and know when it's time to make those tough decisions as well. And then, like we said before, just support one another. So I think the biggest thing is honesty.
Yeah.
You've got to be honest, not in a cruel way. You've just got to be honest in your normal, kind, loving self way and say, you know what, this isn't working for me. It would work better in this way for me. And then let the other person contribute towards a conversation.
I think honesty is a huge word. I mean, you said there earlier, cheerleader. I've been watching the second series on Netflix of Cheer, and it's about, I don't know if you've seen it. It's about this junior college in Texas who have been 17-time national champion of cheerleading. I mean, this isn't just pom-poms and rah, rah, rah. It's throwing people 20, 30 feet in the air and doing amazing tumbling. But one of their successes is that they are so incredibly honest with one another. And yes, there's conflict, but even when it looks like they're absolutely about to, just scream the house down at one another, they manage to resolve it because of their honesty. So that's a terrific tip there. Amazing. What to anyone that was just about to say step into the virtual room as it is now of the 3-day basic training, what would be the big tip there that you'd give them, Amrit?
I'd say just be really open-minded, be willing to learn. There's going to be so much information. Take lots of notes. Don't be afraid of lots of tips here. Don't be afraid of asking questions either. Don't be afraid. But I think open-minded. Just be open-minded. Yeah.
I think often someone will say, "Oh, this may sound like a silly question," and my immediate response is, "Well, if you don't ask it, that's the silly thing. There's no silly questions. The silly questions are the ones you don't ask." So yeah, asking questions.
Yeah,
because you've got to.
But I've got so many like points. So sorry. That's something G always says. Answer the question. Sometimes I don't, but and I'm aware of it. And actually, this is like my motto for life. And it's so simple and maybe cliche, but just have fun. Mm-hmm. It's a new experience. Just have fun.
Have fun with it, definitely. Yeah. I think there's so much that I think any team, whether they're related or not, can take away from this. So thank you for sharing all of that. Last question, though. Who do you think is going to be the next James Bond?
Oh, you can answer that.
Do you know?
Yeah. Oh gosh, if I knew, I would have kept them to myself.
Who do you think?
I actually don't know. I actually was rooting for the Bridgerton guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know his name.
Regé or something like that. His name, isn't it? Yeah.
I thought he would be very suited because of his poise, his posture, and the way he kind of comes across. But I've heard it's not him. So that would have been who I would have given my vote to.
But hasn't there been talk in the past for Idris Elba?
Idris Elba, yeah. For me, I've got an inkling they're going to do a massive reboot and take Bond right back to the early days. Because I've heard Tom Holland is in the frame, Spider-Man. Because every now and then I hear a Marvel star and he's Spider-Man. So taking it back before Bond was 007, before he's even a spy, so who knows?
How about this idea? Okay. How about if it's a woman? Because they do things quite differently. So James might become Jane Bond or something.
No spoilers here, because I think we all know now, but 007 has been a woman, of course, in No Time to Die. 007 was reassigned to a woman, but I think Barbara Broccoli, the producer, she said, no, James Bond is a man. There's no need to reinvent the character just for the sake of it. Yeah. So it will be, I think she's said it is going to be a man. I hope they do a massive reboot and really reinvent it. I think it'd be really interesting. But there we are. That's just me.
That's amazing.
All right. Thank you. You've been amazing.
Oh, and Simon, we just want to say this has been amazing. We've loved speaking to you. It's been so enjoyable. So just thank you for having us on, and thanks to Asset Academy for everything they've done for us.
So you can see there's loads more to learn about property investing, and guess what? These videos, they're all ready for you to learn even more. So click either one of these right now, and you can get some more information on how to grow your portfolio. Click the video, that one, either one. Go on.